Shekar, it's wonderful to join you here at Mobile World Congress, and I'm looking forward to talking about the big trend, artificial intelligence. Arrcus has done a great job developing this narrative around creating the intelligent data fabric that'll connect distributed AI workloads across the edge, the cloud, and the data center.
Yeah.
Maybe you can lay out the vision for us, tell us what it means for the telecom ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here in the show. So if you think about AI, it's all the rage right now, but most of the focus is actually on Gen AI, on the applications residing on top, and not too many people are thinking about the infrastructure underneath. And very quickly, we're going to find out that that infrastructure is in fact not sufficient for what you need to do true AI. And true AI is really doing efficient training, but also efficient inferencing. You've got to be able to take everything that happens in these stovepipes of data centers and then bring them into multiple data centers that are connected together, and then from there to the edges. So what this requires is it requires a network that is flexible and that can extend across from core to edge, as well as across multiple clouds. And so at Arrcus, what we do with our operating system in particular is to actually have that distributed fabric and then bring this to the benefit of telecom carriers, enterprises, as well as cloud companies, so that you can have this interconnected data center architecture for AI.
So operators are going through a number of large-scale transitions as it relates to how they architect their networks, manage and operate them, and there is a big emphasis on decentralization and getting intelligence out deep into the network. But maybe you can expand a little bit on the infrastructure piece as it relates specific to CSPs. What do they need to be thinking about to really capture this AI opportunity?
Well, first and foremost, they should realize that they're sitting on an asset which is in fact incredibly valuable, which is the fact that they have geographically dispersed points of presence and each one of these things can in fact be converted to a compute and network node that then becomes an intelligent connected point in the AI architecture, right? Now, unfortunately, operators historically have just handed over the keys to somebody, and whether that key is to a hyperscaler cloud or to other forms of intermediaries that are dealing with enterprises. And part of the challenge is that they have not really had, I would say, the marketing muscle or the sales and go-to-market muscle to be able to take services that are other than just voice and data to the customer. But this is an opportunity to doing that. Now with the 5G network relatively getting mature, and then on the other side, technologies like Arrcus coming to their benefit in order to do things like multi-cloud, multi-edge transformation, they can take this and then build out their network ground up into something that then becomes useful for deployment of artificial intelligence. And so what does that mean? That means that they can actually offer services to customers, whether they are enterprises or they are customers that are actually looking for multi-cloud connectivity, and then use that in concert with GPU farms and then extending that out to networks at the nodes and at the edges, and then deploy services on top of that that are useful for AI-based applications. And then they can charge for this, they can monetize for this in a really, really efficient way. But the time for doing that is now, because if they wait long enough for this thing to mature, once again they'll be late, just like they were late with the cloud wave. So this is the time for them to jump on this and to say, we've got the network architecture built out in order to service efficient AI, and then begin to roll out those network services. And some of them are actually starting to do that with us.
Yeah, so to that last point about really rising to meet this moment, how is Arrcus helping? I know you've got a lot of announcements at the show. Maybe you can share a few with us.
Oh, absolutely. So first and foremost, think about Arrcus as a fabric that can actually overlay a number of different compute processors underneath us, whether those are coming from Broadcom or NVIDIA or Intel or a host of others. And so in that sense, I actually like to analogize Arrcus to what we did at VMware, which is an abstraction layer that then allows workloads, in this case network functions, to be dropped on top of that independent of the processor architecture. So for example, at the show today, actually we are announcing support for the latest, greatest processors from Broadcom. And then as you might have seen, we have also announced what we do with the SmartNICs from NVIDIA, Bluefield, And then in turn, we are also doing the same thing also with Intel. So when you look at that, customers now have the ability to go in and say, I can bet on one single network operating system fabric. That fabric can then work with multiple different processors, and it can give them the ability to go in and, with good sort of future-proof security, build their network applications to what we're doing. Similarly, we do that on the multi-cloud network side as well. And so the announcements we are making also include, for example, what we are doing in partnership with Red Hat from IBM, as well as with VMware, now part of Broadcom. And then finally, one more announcement that we're making at the show is our ability to build out the 5G network for SoftBank in their mobile user plane, particularly using technology called SRv6, and they are now going into production trials with that technology. So this is all super exciting for us because it covers the gamut of carriers, cloud, and enterprise, and shows how significant it is going to be in order to have this sort of a uniform fabric that overlays the network for all these different customer types.
It's a really compelling strategy, great partner announcements. Shekar, I appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective with our audience.
Thanks for having me.